I want to introduce our next speaker, Indus. So a lot of the talks in the morning session are really about these practical hands-on people, not making stuff for other people, like framework level, but people actually at the application level deploying Gen AI in the wild. Indus really impressed me when I first heard about what they're doing, where it's one of the few cases where we're going to see agents not kind of here where we're doing investigations. Like, you wouldn't really want like a Splunk bot to sort of pull the CEO's laptop in the middle of things. Like, that'd be a very strong action for an agent. A lot of times when you see people doing LLMs and agents in the wild, they're actually not really doing much action. It's a lot of information. Indus really impressed me here, where their agents are actually doing a lot. And I think on where we trust AI, I think this is like a very strong kind of indicator of where we're going. Simon, can you help with the? Yes, so with that, I want to introduce Indus, and hopefully you'll enjoy hearing about what he's doing with
Thanks, Leo. How have you been? So we took two very orthogonal problems in the enterprise space, and then we're trying to marry them together. One is identity security, as boring as it could be. And then we took the unsolved problem of AI web agents. So we all hear about AI agents, doing sales, doing, vibe coding, as Leo mentioned, programming. What if AI does self-navigation on a computer browser and solves some of the identity security problems? And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next 15 minutes. Okay. So my name is Indus Khaitan. This is my third startup. The first one went well. So if you remember when iPhone 1 came out, and BlackBerry was goddamn popular, and every enterprise executive said, hey, throw my BlackBerry out, give me my iPhone now and my email and my SharePoint. But there was no way for an iPhone to authenticate against an Active Directory. Active Directory, anybody here? Know that? Yeah. Hybrid. So we found a hack. This is 2010. We found a hack to authenticate an iPhone to an Active Directory infrastructure. We built a business, grew from 0 to 6 million in 2 years, sold that company to Oracle in 2014. That was my first one. The second one went well. We shut the company down in the summer of 2023. And this is what we started in December of 2023, kind of marrying those two problems together. I live in the Bay Area, I live in the East Bay. How many of you are in San Francisco? Bay Area, East Bay? So I live in Dublin. I'm a private pilot. I fly a single-engine Cessna in my spare time when my wife is not at home. So let's keep making progress. Two things, and marrying those two to the third one. So first, identity security, and then web agents or AI agents, and then how can we use web agents to solve some of the unsolved problems in identity security. Now, this one is pretty popular set of news and press releases and data breaches going on almost on a daily basis. So you probably have noticed that identity-based attacks are now dominating cybercrime. Hackers are no longer dropping malware, they are simply logging in. And if you have noticed the breaches of last year, commercial software, SaaS, banking websites, your social media applications, Snowflake got breached last year. Many of our collaborative platforms that we use daily got breached last year. Healthcare products. And because of the complexity of the number of and the volume of applications, this is compounding on a yearly basis. Now, interesting to note, if you read the Gartner numbers, the spend on cybersecurity is going up every year. Overall IT spending is going up every year, but the threats have not gone down. The breaches continue to go up, and if you follow Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report or CrowdStrike, the numbers ain't looking good. kind of summarizes our problem. The growing number of apps sums up the issues in every organization. So this is a screen grab from Octane, Okta's annual security conference. This was from Vegas last year. Okta's own admission said less than 20% of apps in any enterprise are on Okta's dashboard. Okta internally has 1,300 applications. Guess less than 20% are governed by Okta. So it's a wild, wild west. IT does not know where the data sits. Do local accounts still exist when employees have left the organization? I'm sure as an admin of apps, you have come across that, hey, why is Jacob still accessing our Salesforce? We forgot to remove Jacob. Or pick any example. The problem in commercial SaaS, but also in internal applications. If you're complying with SOX policies, you have to submit to SEC every 90 days, or internal compliance checks. You have users who have more roles than they should have. You move from one project to the other, you have rights to GitHub repositories from clients you are no longer working on. And all of those accumulate to violations that are unmanageable because the volume of apps have gone up. I will date myself by relating to the column on the left. And this is the evolution of security. Remember the good old days? You could just put a firewall and put a VPN and say, yep, I'm secure. That's no longer the case today. Thousands of apps. It's no longer about the perimeter, because if your apps are running on cloud, your partner apps hosted on their VPC accessible to you. So with the growing number of apps, the security has moved from the perimeter or the network-centric world. If you could visualize this, this is 20 years ago. You put a firewall, you have a VPN to access, and job done. If you're not inside, you can't access any data, be it databases or servers or application. This is the wild, wild west today. You have hundreds of apps, and the problem compounds when they're connected to each other. Slack, you have a one-click install of a third-party app that could take all the DMs away, take all the channel data away, where you're discussing quarterly earnings, you're discussing customer traction, and you have no idea if that third-party app is still active. It has a setting that if an employee leaves the organization, that third-party app could still remain active. How would you control that? Wild, wild west. This is a pretty interesting one. Uncanny as it is, the ransomware groups have moved away from trying to infect your laptops to trying to take over your SaaS accounts, trying to take over your social media accounts, trying to take over your GitHub API keys. Anybody remember the last year's breach of, I'm not going to name those applications, when a very popular CI/CD application got breached and GitHub tokens were exposed. So they are no longer dropping malware or taking over your desktop or your PC. Not mine. So if you visualize this is actually a real chart up to here from CrowdStrike's report. I basically extrapolated this, and you could imagine antiviruses no longer useful because all the threats have moved online. If you are popular with Have I Been Pawned? Have you tried your email address there? Highly recommended. That's the primary attack vector adversaries are going after. They take your personal Gmail account or Yahoo account, if you're old enough, that email address, get the password associated with that email account. Is that the reminder again? Yeah. There's a nice tone to it. So they take the password associated with your social media account and then side attack your Snowflake, which is a commercial enterprise account. That was the breach that happened last year on Snowflake. If you know the retailer Hot Topic, 650 locations in the United States, they got breached. Their Snowflake data got stolen. How? A developer decided to have a password, probably ex-girlfriend's name, I don't remember. And that was found on the dark web. So that's the primary threat vector. While that gets fixed, any questions? I have a few more slides, not done yet.
I just need to share the room. Okay, we're sharing this. And,
Thank you. So this is the current state of IT, unfortunately, because the volume has gone up, the number of apps have gone up. It's no longer about the perimeter, it's about data sitting inside, it's about the identity, it's about access. How are we managing it? Swivel chair. You go from one app to the other, you look for alerts on Splunk, you move and go to Google Workspace. Is that person still there? Oh, that's the app. You go to the third one. All of this disconnection, all of these overload is causing more grief than ever. And unfortunately, IT is glued to what we call as an eye on the glass problem. So they are looking at the screen and trying to figure out how to automate. And me as an IT person is the glue between those missing pieces in the application. They're trying to automate it. Look at the alert, take an action, go to the next step. Hope I can still use this. No. No. Yep, works. By the way, there's a real picture. So his A350 is on the autopilot. He's just relaxing, buying miles so that he doesn't need to go take a nap. The reason that picture is important, as a kid, we have been told, oh, the planes fly on their own. 747 came out, it had the first autopilot, implementation. That was 20 years ago. Early versions of the prototypes of, self-driving cars. How many of you took Waymo today morning? You should try if you haven't. Many of you would be wondering, if the car is self-driving, why is the steering wheel there? Regulations.
Regulations haven't caught up to technology.
Okay. A little bit more.
Reassurance would.
We're going to get freaked out. Where they have the steering wheel? We are in this transitionary phase right now. 10 years from now, would you see the steering wheel? Probably not. Would you see the accelerator? Would you see the brake? Would you see the clutch? Would you see the dash? Nothing, all gone. So this is the transitionary period. And the reason I mentioned that, and that's the transitionary period where systems are not automatically connected. There's a manual perception that somebody's driving, the wheels are rotating. And even if you have a Model 3, you're sitting there, wheels are rotating, and it's driving by itself. So the question there is, if in our daily lives, flying and driving are auto, why isn't IT auto? And that's where the hope comes in, that can we make user credentials automated, API keys automatically managed, identity access reviewed and done? Why do we need what we have today in terms of the problems of multiple applications and the breaches around it? And that's where AI agent comes in, and hope. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. This is a new topic. There's a lot going on around what is an AI agent versus what's a model. Everybody understands the nuance between simply an AI model and an AI agent on the right. Hey, write me an essay. You interact with ChatGPT, it boom generates a bunch of text and completes it. Very simply. That's the model behind the scenes. An AI agent is a little bit of a wrapper over an AI model. You send a task saying, hey, get this job done. And if you take this example, you're just not asking the model to write an essay. You're asking the model to be a little bit more contextual based on what's the date today, based on what's the weather outside, and fact check and connect to external data sources using tools. Tools could be your Google Calendar, tools could be your email, tools could be an API call to get more data from your sales CRM, and it continuously reasons before the answer is reported back to you. It could be fact checking, it could be error correcting. When I use ChatGPT these days, every output I ask, hey, rate it. It comes back, oh, no, it's not there yet. So, hey, why did you give me an answer? Go fix it. So it now modifies it, increases the accuracy, and rates it higher based on the task given at hand. So this nuance is important. I'm going to chisel this down further. Whenever we talk about an AI agent, sorry, I'm having trouble here moving. We talk about an AI agent that works using an API. The nuance there is, and this is where we apply the web agents to identity security. The reason web agents are needed because APIs cannot go everywhere. If you cannot get the data out, how the AI is going to do the job? So how many of you use the word operator, which OpenAI launched last January? Yeah, it sounds so far away already. So operator, essentially, think of it as your self-driving car, except it's a web navigation engine. So it takes an instruction, operator controls a browser, and then goes and navigates to a destination. Hey, book me a flight ticket is a pretty popular example, where it logs into your Southwest or United Airlines website, fills the form of the destination, the dates, and then provides it a credit card number, it completes the booking. Now, why that use case is important? Because United is not exposing an API for you and me to go book a ticket automatically. Hence, that gap exists. Hence, the web agents exist. And this is where we are marrying the technology of web agents to go fix the issues in the enterprise. Legacy apps have been built. Mainframes still have access, and mainframes are still alive in large organizations. Internal applications have been built. If you try go filing a form on a government website, guess what? You have to either do an RPA, which is robotic process automation, or you have to script it to go work like a robot and then go fill the form and submit it. Government is not giving an API. Very similarly, for thousands of business applications, internal and external, APIs don't exist, but you can automate those tasks using an AI-controlled browser. That's what the nuance there is, web agents versus traditional AI agents or API-driven agents. And this is the premise of using web agents for identity security. So I'm going to walk through this particular diagram, and we've applied web agents to solve some of the unseen identity threats. For example, you have an apps You have an apps infrastructure on the right that are not your top tier commercial SaaS. Your Salesforce, your Slack, which is you pick a handful of top tier SaaS applications. They are very well represented. They have API connectivity, high fidelity data being exchanged, sent to your identity systems, alerts being generated, sent to your SIM and your logging system. You can orchestrate your day out of it and then take actions. But let's be real, 90% of applications are not connected to your internal IT infrastructure. They're not connected to your identity system, such as Okta or Microsoft Entra ID. They're not connected to your governance system. They're not connected to your Splunk. If your CFO has left the organization, how would you know that he's no longer accessing your treasury account? Because the JP Morgan corporate banking application is not reporting that activity back to you. It's not reporting the activity back to your Splunk, neither to your identity system. And that is a kind of threat that has been accumulating over a period of time. And since it's not visible, the 90% of the apps are parked as very conveniently called shadow IT. But the reality is it's no longer shadow IT. It's no longer long tail. It's a fat head that exists in the organization that is causing trouble. And this is where the AI web agent comes in using an intent to control and retrieve data from any web application. So, hey, give me a list of users from my JP Morgan corporate banking account. The AI web agent is going to log in using credentials from a vault and retrieve that list of users, and then you can take action on it. You could do reconciliation saying, hey, John left the company like 3 years ago. Why does he still have JP Morgan corporate banking treasury account? And many such use cases now you can think of. You could do reconciliation, and likewise, you could do interactive remediation. So you found John. Of course, you could find an IT ticket and then remove John from that list, but you could also instruct the same AI agent to take a task. Take the task and go remove that user or go remove that particular person from the downstream application. This is the future that we are coming together, and this is again the transitionary phase. Remember, the wheel still exists to reassure that, hey, the user knows that the driving is happening. Very similarly, I don't think for the next 10 years or so, all of these apps will be high-fid. They'll have APIs. So until that time, we still need to solve the identity security problem. So this exists. So I know I'm almost at time. I have a few more slides, but love to take your questions. Yep.
How do you handle MFA through the web?
Great question. Vault has access to the credential. Very similarly, when you provision that agent's account in the Vault, you provision the seed for the MFA. We also have the agent provisioned an email account. So if your out of band two-factor comes into the email, agent can read that and fill in the code as if you're a human being filling up the code. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about. Mike. Curious about how do you think about possibilities of poisoning the LLM getting prompt injected, and then insofar as like your security model that the agent is, how do you know that it's doing the things it's supposed to do?
So our AI models are not exposed. The customers continue to use the existing infrastructure. So use Microsoft Entra ID, boom, that's your day. The AI instructions are happening from Microsoft Entra ID or Okta to our AI that is hosted on our cloud. It's not something that a customer or the employee directly interacts with the AI model. Yes, sir.
So how's this different than your typical SCIM, SCIM?
Correct. The AI web agent exists because majority of the apps on your right-hand side, this do not support SCIM protocol. So your skim request starts from Microsoft Entra ID and hopefully terminates on the app. But since these apps do not support skim, the AI web agent comes in and behaves like a fake skim proxy and connects and completes the task. All right. Thank you so much. And
one more.
sure.
What is the most surprising? Oh, yeah. What is the most surprising or aggressive use of agents that you've seen your customers doing?
So there's a concept called identity governance where, have you heard of this application called SailPoint? So SailPoint typically is used when you don't have a access management policy, and hence your governance could be done every 90 days to bring the list of users. When we came on board, we saw that the governance is being done almost like an hour. Because now you do not have to wait every 90 days for somebody to go export the data out and then upload onto SailPoint. It's almost automated. Get the list of users, get the list of users, get the list of users.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Indus.
All right.
So yeah,